Yo, what's good, guys? Back with another video. This one's going to be fire. So this is the first video I'm actually going to talk about Bing ads and break down the little case study that just happened, recently from 0 to 20K. So I'm going to break down how we were able to do it and just give you guys more context and the strategy behind it. So as you guys can see, literally March 2026, so 2 months ago, new account, zero spend, zero sales. 1 month later, so 4 weeks later, in April, literally last month, as you can see, 2.8K in spend, 19K, basically 20K in revenue at 7 roas, literally within 4 weeks of a fresh account, right? And interestingly, a lot of these customers were new customers, and a lot of these campaigns were non-branded campaigns, right? So I'm going to break down the strategy, the structure, and how you guys can actually apply this yourselves, or get me and my team to apply it for you. So just within 4 weeks, as I just broke down, 20K in revenue, 7 ROAS, 2.8K in spend, right? So what did the setup look like? And before we break down the setup, I just want to actually talk about why Bing is powerful, right? First things first, no one really talks about it. Look, it's not the sexiest topic, I'll be honest with you, and it's not the most scalable. So don't let anyone lie to you and be like, oh, you can hit massive numbers with Bing. The truth is, it would be very difficult. But in terms of an efficiency play, and just scaling horizontally into another ad channel, definitely don't sleep on Bing. It's very efficient. So first things first, it's a different audience, right? It's typically an older demographic and they have higher household income. So typically bigger net worth, they have more purchasing power, right? So if your AOV is bigger, or if your product speaks to an older demographic, definitely hop on Bing. Second of all, it's a blue ocean, right? There's not a lot of competitors on Bing. There's not a lot of people even thinking about hopping on Bing. So honestly, you should be able to actually print with it. CPCs are way lower and, competition is just way lower, right? And again, most people are just lazy. Most people don't really think about these sort of platforms. And this is how you're going to be able to actually win in the long run and just, maximize how much revenue that's coming into your store. So let's break down. Give me 1 second. All right, cool. So let me give you guys 3 questions that's important. Now, look, the ideal situation is if you're already running on Meta or Google and there's clear proof of concept and your offer works and you have good conversion rates, Bing is gonna 99% of the time work. You can do Bing for a completely new store and directly, start working on Bing. Like we've done that for a few clients and it's working pretty well, right? So it just depends on the approach you want to take, right? But first things first is just ask yourself a few questions. So does your product already convert well? Right, typically 2.5% more. It's going to be relative based on your AOV, right? Is the AOV high enough? Right, this is going to be important. I gave you guys some breakdowns here, but again, as a business owner, you guys should know your numbers, right? And then what's also important is actually looking at the search terms, the keyword planner, the Bing keyword planner. So it's very similar to Google. Bing, to a large extent, is similar to Google. It's even in terms of the research, right? So Bing keyword planner, and make sure that each keyword has at least 1,000 monthly searches, right? If it does, then that means it's a pretty decent level of demand. Now, like I said, Bing, way less competition, but also way less market size. So a lot of the time, it'll probably be a few hundred searches. Anything below 100 searches, honestly, it'll be a bit tough to make. And, as you guys can imagine, the best niches will probably be health and wellness, supplements, home, kitchenware, homeware, that sort of stuff, right? Furniture, that sort of stuff. The structure, right? So what did we actually do? And believe it or not, it was a very simple structure. And this is, of course, we made sure the merchant center was optimized. We made sure tracking was set up correctly, all of that technical but important stuff. We literally just had 4 campaigns. So we started out with a standard shopping. We had a search exact match. We had a search abroad match, right? And then we had a search brand. Right, so I'm going to break down each one in a bit more detail. So how was it split? A lot of it was allocated to shopping. As you guys probably should know by now, shopping is your low-hanging fruit. I always recommend, starting out with shopping and having a good feed. And then 25% went to broad match, and then 15% went to exact match, and just a little bit of brand because, especially if you're scaling on other platforms, there's going to be a lot of brand awareness. So it's just low-hanging fruit that you want to capture. So how did it actually work, right? Let's first talk about the shopping campaign. So before we even, and I've discussed this, I sound like a broken record. I always talk about this because it's very important and I don't really see a lot of people talk about it. But the feed. It starts off with the feed. Have a good title, have a good description, good image, a good offer, promotion, reviews, all of that sort of stuff, right? So a lot of people just have a very shitty title, right? But with our titles, and I gave you guys a little framework and template you can use, is you can see this is how we structure our titles. And again, it's going to be case dependent on the niche. There's a few factors that come into it, but use case, category, what it's for, you know, if there's clear ICPs and clear avatars, then you can actually like target that. Specific pain points, that sort of stuff. Key feature, and then the brand. I see people make this mistake a lot. They actually start with the brand. You don't want to do this. Unless you're a massive brand, you can do that. But honestly, you're just going to just kill, you know, your targeting by mentioning your brand first, because typically the first 3 keywords is really going to influence what the algorithm targets, or who the algorithm targets, right? Think of titles as a targeting mechanism. It's going to be very good for targeting. So that's why you're able to split test a bunch of things, A/B test, duplicate your product, and have another title and that sort of stuff, right? So you definitely want to do that. Now, in terms of the actual campaign type, right? Nothing crazy, standard shopping, like I said. And then you want to have, it depends, right? This is a one product store, so we just had the hero only. But if you have, you know, a large catalog, segment by collections, whether that's on an ad group level or on a campaign level. Segmentation is very important, similar to Google, right? Very important. And then start with manual CPC, right? Start with manual CPC. If you're running on Google, understand the CPC is there, then maybe decrease it by 20 or so % on Bing, right? And then what you want to do is just let the account warm up. Like I showed you guys, right? This account was from scratch, from zero. So we didn't instantly switch. We just let the account run, right? For at least 30 days, at least 30 conversions. But more importantly, it's not just about 30 conversions in 30 days. Is it consistently profitable every single day? Is it spending the budget, and is it consistently providing a good ROI? If it is, then you can set a target ROAS, and this is going to stabilize it even more, right? So like I said, shopping, pretty simple structure. And, you know, we started out, this is for a one product store, right? And then this is what we've done in terms of the broad match and exact match. Because a lot of the time let me see if I broke it down here. All right, cool, yes, yeah. So a lot of the time, you know, we just start with exact match. But because Bing, there's such less competition, right? We really want to maximize search volume and targeting, right? So what we've done is actually, we tested with exact match, right? And then we had the broad match campaigns. The keywords were the same. And then anytime from shopping, we saw a keyword that was a winning keyword that was getting sales, we would add it into the exact match campaign, but then also into the broad match campaign. Now the broad match campaign, think of that as a scaling mechanism, but then also a way to find more keywords that are, you know, pretty much related to your product, right? Or to the keywords that you're running. And this is going to allow you to obviously find more keywords and scale more aggressively. And because the competition is low, it's a no-brainer play, right? And then, you know, I broke down just some of the structures in terms of optimization. Honestly, it's just like a typical media buying stuff, but it's very important to stay on top of it. But search terms report, very, very important, especially for the shopping one as well, right? It's going to give you a lot of good ideas. And also just, you're going to discover new keyword themes for you to start targeting and start breaking into. Now, in terms of the campaigns, right? So obviously, like I mentioned, we had the broad match campaign and then the exact match, right? So the broad match campaign, similar to the video I previously dropped in terms of ad groups, or in terms of the search, always segment your ad groups based on keyword theme, right? So this one, 3 to 5 themed ad groups around customer angle. This is very important. That's why it always starts with keyword research, right? And now what helped out here is we were already running Google and doing very well. So we had a lot of data for us to leverage, right? And then again, start with manual CPC. Every Monday, depends on your budget. If you're scaling aggressively, then you want to check it every day, but just start harvesting the search terms report, right? And then the exact match was literally just the proven keywords. You want Bing to only target these keywords in specific, and you're really just going to outrank your competition and rank #1, right? Because you know these keywords are proven to work for you. You have very good ad copy tailored to it. Your PDP is also tailored to it, and it works really well. Also, what works really, really well is running these search campaigns, more so the broad match, to custom pages and pre-landers. For this product, you know, we're just running it to a PDP, and then for one of them, we're running it to an advertorial, right? And that's working really, really well right now. So pretty much similar structure to Google. And then brand campaign, don't want to spend too much time on this, but yeah, pretty much just your bread and butter, you know, brand campaign structure. Very important, just a good efficiency play. So 5 principles, right? And funny enough, this is kind of similar to my recent Google Ads case study. So principles will stay as principles. First things first is we understood that it's a hero product, right? First, understand your business. Understand, are you scaling a hero product? Is it a large catalog? Do you have a bunch of hero products? Is it 80-20 split? What's the split what's the split like? Second of all, is actually the feed, right? And I talk about this a lot. Again, optimize the feed before you even think about going on shopping, right? It's gonna be very important. Third, manual before automated. Always start with a manual approach. Standard shopping, manual CPC, standard search, right? When with time, yes, PMAX, maximize conversion value, target ROAS, all of that sort of stuff. PMAX feed only, standard search with smart bid strategies, right? And then broad and exact match, right? Understand the different purposes for it. We do phrase match sometimes with the exact. I just find this to be the best in separate campaigns. So broad match, discovery, exact scale, and honestly it's vice versa as well, right? So they kind of work hand in hand. And then the brand is always gonna run, right? So that's gonna be very important as well. So remember guys, look, most operators, they just see Bing as a backup. It's a channel, and look, we done 20K in 4 weeks, right? So I'm gonna break down, this upcoming month as well. We're gonna keep scaling this account. I'm actually curious myself to see how hard we can scale it, but this is just a prime example to actually get on Bing, right? This should be enough motivation and inspiration for you guys, especially if you're doing well on other platforms. Bing is a no-brainer play. And look, we do it done for you as well. So book a call with me. We can discuss Bing. We can do it for you one-time setup or completely done for you monthly service. Check out the links below to book a call. And just apply it, right? So in short, what you want to do, understand your hero product, right? You can start with your hero or just start in general approach. It just depends, honestly. And then optimize the feed, launch your standard shopping. This can be done, honestly, in 1 to 3 days. This depends on work ethic. And then you want to launch the broad and exact match search, or you can start with exact. It just depends on your budget and how risk averse you are. And then you want to launch your branded campaign as well. And then with time, once it's consistently profitable and it's getting good, say you will start moving over to smart bidding, start moving over to PMAX, and then just start scaling up, the shopping and the broad and exact match campaigns, right? So that's gonna be very, very important. But pretty much a simple structure here. And here's 5 mistakes that kill Bing accounts, right? And you don't want to do this. Importing the Google account directly, because I don't know if you guys knew, but you can actually import the Google account and the data and all of that sort of stuff to Bing and the campaigns as well. Do that to an extent, but don't view it as it's directly, it's going to be the same as Google. No, it's a different audience, different intent, different bidding, different competitors. Really study Bing, really understand your market in Bing, your demographic in Bing, and the CPCs and who's running on Bing. Competitive research is going to be very important. Another important thing is actually skipping the feed work. So what I mean by that is the merchant center work. You really want to optimize this. Going straight into automated bidding, no, that's a no-go. Start with a manual approach. I've been preaching this for the longest. I've been doing this for many, many years now, and this is always the approach I go with. And then running broad match without harvesting, right? You want to be on top of your broad match because this can actually burn budget, but we had confidence behind our keywords and our offer. That's why we actually started with broad match as well. But you want to look at the search terms report, do a lot of negative keyword exclusions as well. That's going to be important, and really understand where the spend is going. And then not running brand because it's organic anyway. I get this question a lot. No, you want to be running brand, right? For sure. And then, that's pretty much it. That's the breakdown. If you want this done for your brand, feel free to book a call with me. I'm going to leave the link below. And also check out my X, ecom_Amin. I'm dropping so much source on Google, YouTube ads, custom pages, Bing ads, all of that sort of stuff. But going to keep dropping these case studies. There's a lot of value that I want to share with you guys. And if you enjoy this video, feel free to leave a like and comment.